Slow fade, slow fade.
Slow fade, perfect timing. Ellen, you want to run it?
Sure, yeah.
Well, everyone, this is Ellen Lyons. She's an amazingly talented designer and extraordinaire in all ways. And she is, oh, sorry, waiting room. And she's going to tell us a bit about design and do a Q&A and just answer any questions anyone might have about getting started.
Cool. Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm a senior. I'm a ad student. I'm also in the art and tech school, so I do a lot of really hands-on design stuff. And yeah, I just wanted to do a little workshop and kind of give people some really basic tips and stuff for approaching Adobe projects, just because I feel like that's something that is kind of expected to do on your own. And so I put together a little cheat sheet. Let me put the link in to the chat and you guys can follow along, or I'm going to share my screen. So it's always a risk, but okay. So I basically, when I start a project, I make sure that my layout is how I want it to be, the whole workspace. So something that makes it a lot easier to know where everything is, and to kind of just keep yourself organized, is to go up to here to view, and then window, sorry, and then workspace, and then you can change how the workspace looks. So right now I'm on essentials. I could open up tracing and see how it changes along the sidebar like that. Just changes the different tools that are available to you quickly based on what you're doing. And something that I like to do is lay out my own thing. So this has a ton of stuff down the side. Basically to do that, you grab something out of here, say the stroke panel. If I want to keep that on my Illustrator screen, you can drag it and then hold it up here and it puts it there. And I just get every single tool that I like to use and have them all there, so that I just have them handy. And there's 100,000 things you can do on your toolbar to customize it and make it look the way you want, and to have only the tools that you want. And that just makes it a lot easier for me to get started, because then I don't have to keep clicking up here or wondering where everything is. And then you can save this view. So every time I open Illustrator, it looks the same and has all this stuff here for me to use anyways. So yeah. Oh, let me pull up my little PDF. So this is the file of the thing that I sent you. So basically, when I was very first starting design, I would go on to websites like Vecteezy or FreePic and download some vector files, literally could be anything. Just they have hundreds of different files that people just have on there for free. And the ones that say free, you can just download and you can open them up. And the one that I included was this one. And usually this is the file that I downloaded from the website. And this is usually it'll have a JPEG, an SVG, and an EPS. And then EPS and SVG can be opened in Illustrator. And the cool thing about it is that it has all the information saved to it, so you can edit it and stuff. And I would just spend hours opening one of these files and then going in and looking at all the layers, looking through all the different effects that they added. And just by doing that, you can learn so much. And if there's stuff you don't understand, then you can it's kind of a starting point to search things that you don't know. It's hard to figure out what you don't understand about these kind of programs without knowing what it is that you don't know, or like not knowing what question you have to ask. So if you have a file like this and you're like, how did they do this like looping noodly thing? Now you have this file and it's already finished. You don't actually have to do anything, but you can go in and down here in the layers panel, it's very important. You can like open it up and just look at every single thing that this person did to make this. And I'm not going to go into like how to make this specifically, but this really helped me because you can see that like this is actually just a ton of circles, and like you might not have even thought of that when you first saw it. It almost looks like it's a paintbrush effect or something like that. So yeah, so I would start there, and then I literally would just search things like how to create a gradient noodle 3D noodle on YouTube, and it will come up. There's literally a video for every single thing you want to do. Another thing is using like guides, and you can find those up here in view. You have to open up your rulers. So you just go to rulers, show rulers, and then you have these things up and down on the sides, and the top measures out the screen. And if you click up here in the ruler space and then you drag down, that creates like a guideline, and then you place it there, and then that can be locked so you don't like, you know, you don't mess with it or anything, but then it serves as like a snapping point. So anything you have will like snap to it, and so you can use it to lay out, say you don't want something to go over the edge too far, or you want things to all be lined up in one row, and you can do it from the other side as well, and you can just have as many of those as you want. You can also turn any shape into a guide, but yeah, I use like a ton of guides all the time because you just want to make sure things are lined up and stuff, and it usually helps make things look a lot better without you even having to try. The next thing, has anybody heard of the appearance panel? Awesome. I'm about to blow your minds. So this is the appearance panel. You can get it up here in window appearance if you don't already have it, on the side toolbar thing. And basically this is just like another almost like set of layers of effects that you can add to anything. You can have like down here, there's a little new stroke thing down here, add new stroke, add new fill, and then add new effect. So if I want to add a stroke, do that. And then make sure if you're doing this appearance panel thing, just be editing it down here. There's some other stroke options up here. Don't bother with that. So say I have this like 15-point stroke around here. You can actually add then another one. And it's kind of like layers, where, so if this one's behind it and I make it pink, and then I make it big, it's going to show up behind the other one. You can also switch them. Obviously, you won't be able to see the black one because it's smaller than the other one. But that's how people get kind of that like effect where you have like a lot of different outlines that are kind of like different colors and stuff. And you can do this to literally anything, any object. You can do to text as well. trying to make it a better color. A little ugly. But then, okay, so this is a little, I don't know how too in depth I should be getting, but this, so you can see how this is like kind of, the stroke is a little weird. This is where you could like go up here and you can, oh, so silly. I'll do it on here. This is, you can like align the stroke to the outside. So what you're going to do is, and you have to do this to each individual one. So right then I just did that to the black stroke. Now go into the pink one and you can align that to the outside. And that's how you get those like effects, like that's how you would apply that to the text. I forgot there's another step involved. Don't watch me. You can't do certain things to type. Yeah, I'll just explain it. You can't do certain things to type because you can still edit the type, and that's just a lot of information for the computer. So right now, you can edit the text even though there's like all these outlines and stuff. But I'm gonna convert it to a outline to show you guys what I'm trying to do. But here. So now, oh, that's what it is. It has to be a compound path. It's like, I've made this so confusing now, but once you're at this point, it's just a little funky to like, there we go. You can like do pretty much anything with this appearance panel. It's literally like my favorite thing in the entire world. You can edit, you can give it like a drop shadow, you can do any of these things, and it won't alter the original file. So that's really beneficial because for something like this, for like type, say I'm going to do a little like text post or something, and you want it to say hello, but then some other time you want it to say something else, like you can change the text, and you're not editing, you know, you're not going in and adding in those effects every single time. That just saves a lot of time. And you can do things like warping, like this kind of stuff, and then that isn't affecting the final product either. And you can like toggle it on and off. So if you want to apply it to something and then, you know, take it away or something like that, I don't know. It's just a really non lossy way of editing. So and that's something that like, especially once you get into like really big projects, you should keep in mind, because you'll find yourself in situations where you've like done so many things to say like a text like that, and then you can't go back. But this lets you get a little reckless with it, and you can just play around with a ton of different effects. Okay, the next thing. Also, if anybody has any questions, please ask me. I will talk about anything. I just, you know, just got started with things that I thought would be interesting, or you can chat them, but I don't know if it will pop up for me until I like go back. So
I think we're all just in awe watching and learning so fast.
I feel like, yeah, and also if I'm going too fast, or if like you guys want me to re-explain something, I totally will.
Oh no, you're doing perfect. I spent my brain's absorbing it all, lightning speed.
Cool, awesome. Okay, so the next thing is Adobe Colors. So this is also a lifesaver. You find it up here in Window, Color Themes in InDesign. It's called Adobe Colors or something. I don't know why they come up with these different names across the platforms, but it's only to confuse us. And you can create a color palette basically. And you know, it gives you, right now it's set to analogous. So it's going to come up with an analogous color scheme for whatever you're, you know, hovering over. If you want it to be a triad, like it's just gonna, it'll edit all the other colors to work with the colors that you have, if that makes sense. It takes a lot of work out of like thinking like, oh, is this like the perfect analogous or not like triadic match to this color or something like that. I feel super like unsure of my knowledge of color, so I just rely on this completely. Another thing that I do is the explore tab of this, which is my favorite thing. Literally, if I'm going to do a project about like, I don't know, summer camp, I would literally just type in summer and then comes up with a ton of palettes that people have made and submitted that include that word. So yeah, you like won't ever run out of potential color palettes by using this. And it just saves a lot of time if you're not expected to like come up with a palette on your own. And then what you can do is save them to your favorites, which I'll get to in a second, or to your swatches, which is the little thing up here that just like keeps all the colors that you've been using and stuff. And it just adds it up there so you can easily use them. It's super awesome. Another thing is libraries. So say you were going to save one of these colors and add to my favorites. So in your library, sorry, this is the Tinder. I'm on ad team and I made a library for Tinder, so it just like came out of my mouth. So if you go up to window, libraries is what this is that I'm looking at right now. And you can add that to your like panel. And so I'll just show you the Tinder one because it has a lot of stuff in it. So I made this for ad team. We're working on a campaign for Tinder, and basically we want all of our stuff in the right place, and I want to know that everybody's using the same exact logo for, you know, like the little flame or something, or using the exact same shade of pink. So if you have a situation like that where you're saving, where you want to use like the same colors or the same, you know, images, you have something like this. You can make a library, and these are all the colors. You can save colors to this thing, and you can save images. And if you make anything like you can also save like certain Photoshop files. So like Photoshop gradients can be exported and saved and stuff. So like you could have those in there. You can also have like AI files. So these are specifically in Illustrator. And like if I pulled this and opened it in Illustrator, I could actually go in and edit it like that. It preserves like all that information. So yeah, and these are like InDesign vectors are a little different. Sometimes you have to open them up in there and stuff. It's a little weird, but yeah, the coolest part about it is that then you can go into something like InDesign and look at the same stuff and have all the same stuff right there, and you don't have to like go looking for any information. You don't have to like do anything. Oh, I am so sorry, guys. I'm gonna go tell my roommates to not talk directly outside my window.
Oh, no stress. I wish I had cool like elevator music in the back of my pockets. I could just play it right now. Is I'm just gonna
technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Is that the Jeopardy song? I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just see it on TikTok. Oh, she's back. And so muted. So sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I am very distractible. So I was like, my brain was telling me to listen to like 3 things at once. So, okay, here I am. All right. In InDesign, basically, you can access like the exact same files, and in Photoshop 2, After Effects, everything. Like you can have this as like a little library. You can export them and share them with people as well. So like that's how I got it out to the rest of my team. I just shared this, like it's called like CC libs or something, and you can just like export that and share it. I have one for like my portfolio and stuff, and then when I saved that color earlier, it's going to go here to my library, and it just saves whatever you like favorite on the Adobe colors, which is in InDesign as well. Super awesome. Okay, now that I'm in InDesign, I can show you something here. One of the most important parts of InDesign is like layout. So if you want to toggle between being able to see your screen like this, which is like a preview, I suppose, of like the final product, it's all trimmed on the edges and stuff. You press W and then it will switch out to the view that has the columns, and if you have something that's like hanging off the edge, it'll show that. And something that you want to do at the beginning every single time is go into margins and columns, and you can just add like a top column. You can adjust like how big the outside margin thing is. I don't know if you guys can like see that happening, but yeah, and then you can also add any number of columns. So you can see like I have all of this like aligned up to like this layout, but if I changed it, then I would be able to like move stuff around, and everything snaps to those edges. And then if that's not enough of a layout for you, you can literally add so many guides. And in InDesign, you can do the same thing in InDesign where you're dragging them from the side. But if you want to be really precise with it, you can do guides in the same way as you do the margins and columns. So if you see this, that like super light blue, that is, it'll act the same way as the columns and margins if you lock them. But you can get rows, and then you can also do even more columns if you wanted to. I have yet to understand why you would want 2 different types of columns, but it's there for you if you want it. Okay. Let's see. What haven't I talked about yet?
Which is your favorite platform to use just as you're going through
them? Probably Illustrator. I think that like I learned Illustrator first, and it is I don't know, it can do so many things, and I love the way that you can like edit something and then go back on it, like with the appearance panel and stuff. A lot of times like Photoshop is, unless you're like duplicating everything that you're doing, it's pretty hard to go back on some of the stuff that you've done. This makes it very like easy to change things up. And yeah, I think that Illustrator is able to do a lot more than like InDesign on its own. Is you don't have very many options in terms of like vectors and stuff like that, but I still love it. But yeah, I think also Illustrator is just, I don't know, I didn't actually have another thing to say. But yeah. And I used to go, or I still do, I don't used to, but I go in a lot and like look at like logos of from like companies and stuff. You go to like brandsoftheworld.com, and you can find literally the logo for everything. So I downloaded like the TikTok logo. And it's just pretty a cool way to learn as well, because you can go in and look at it and, you know, select, like you can see how this person made this logo. And that's just like very interesting to me. This is like what I do in my free time. So yeah. And down here, I can't stress enough how much the layers help, because like it names everything, so you'll know what kind of a object it is. One example is like I wanted to know how to do those really cool swooshy like gradient type things. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the gradient, freeform gradient tool on Illustrator, but I felt like it wasn't that I was looking for. So I found this online, which was just a free vector thing of gradients. And then I went in and like looked at it, and I was like, what is this? So you open up the panel and then it's mesh. So I'm like, okay, mesh. So I know what I'm looking for. Like I started like searching up like mesh tool or something on Illustrator. And like from there, then you can kind of start to figure out what it is that you're doing. And then I realized that it's like a thing where you can literally change the color of these individual points and like move them around and stuff. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how this person figured out how to do this, but it's really sick. So yeah, you can honestly learn so much just from like looking through one of these files, and just doing some like searching and just doing some troubleshooting and clicking on everything you can. Pretty much I just like hover over everything and try to like try out new stuff. Yeah.
Did you learn a lot just through like trial and error, or do you watch like tutorials of like certain people?
I watch tutorials. I don't have like any specific people that I like the most. I will generally just watch like based on when I search for something. But the tutorials are really, really helpful. Obviously, that's going to be the best way to learn certain things on Illustrator, because you're seeing someone doing it in real time. There's also like 10 different ways to do every single thing that you can do in Illustrator. And that's what they'll say in like the design videos as well. Like, this is my way of doing it, but you could do it this way or this way or this way. And that's really true. Like this, you could make this with the freeform gradient tool, which is like this totally different thing. That's like, if you go up over here and click gradient, you can add these like dots to it. This is a big file. And then move these around and change the color of each of these dots. So initially when I saw these types of things, I thought this is what they were doing. And then I was like, that is not right. It has all these cool little corner things. So I think it's something like a different tool or something. And then, so I went and downloaded something so I could try and figure it out. Yeah, this is a really cool tool though. The Lyons thing is sick. Like click.
Do you have any recommendations for like a young designer who like wants to apply to AHA or Ad Team, and like how they should present their work?
Yeah, I mean, I think like showing that you're doing just personal projects and trying things out and pushing yourself to do new stuff. Like don't be afraid to just open up a file and make some random things. You know, you don't necessarily have to show anyone, but they like showing that you're just testing things out and like trying to like push the boundaries and stuff. And like, I think that's the most important part is, you know, showing that you've put in the work to understand the programs and understand like just design in general. One thing I didn't include on the website, on the in the PDF, was websites like Behance and Dribble. Those are two really awesome websites that I spend so much time on them. Just looking at, like, people will post like ad campaigns on there. People will post, you know, just a little logo that they made on there. And it's a really cool way to get some inspiration and kind of keep on top of like upcoming design trends and stuff like that. Yeah.
Are websites like Behance also what you use for inspiration? Are you a Pinterest gal, or what kind of stuff do you look at when you're trying to build ideas?
Definitely Behance the most. The coolest thing about Behance is that you can do like the little mood boards, kind of like Pinterest. One thing I think about Pinterest that it's hard for me to find stuff sometimes because it's diluted with a lot of other just random interests from people, because it's not just design specific. So that's the benefit of Behance, where you can, you know, it's all going to be something that somebody created to upload onto this website, or has found that has been like designed or created. It's all, they're all design projects in some way. So yeah, I literally just click around on here and I look through, like, you can, this person has made these cute little GIFs, and like just absorb. Yeah. It's the best thing to do.
While you're on Behance, but since I've seen your Behance portfolio, you wanna give her a whirl and show everybody?
Yeah, check it out. This is my Behance. Here I am. I'm still working on my portfolio website, so actually this is a really good place if you're like in between like updating your portfolio, or you just like don't have, you think that you're gonna, I feel like I'm just gonna put a lot of time into like my website, and so, but I want to be able to apply to jobs right now. So I put everything on here so that I could just link this in my job applications for the time being, so that I can keep this updated with my work, because it's a lot easier to post work on here. It's kind of like just like a couple step process where you're just, you know, you have this project editor, you just add an image or text or something and then publish it. And then that, it just feels a lot more streamlined than, you know, I open up my portfolio and I want to change the font. I want to change the color of the background, and I want to change all the tabs and everything. And so like this was like, for me, a better option right now. And then you can also have mood boards, which is where I have all my inspiration stuff. I make a lot of them. Yeah, so I guess, for example, Tinder, like, you know, I'm looking at different murals and stuff, and I was able to find so many of them on here, whereas trying to look it up on Pinterest or just on Google was, I wasn't getting exactly what I was looking for. Certain things, like people post their entire ad campaign on here, so it's like a description of what the campaign is and stuff, and it's just a good way to find artists that you like, and to find free downloadable content, and to find inspiration.
How often do you update your portfolio?
I have been trying to post kind of just the stuff that I've been doing. Like, these 3 things are from a class this term. I during the beginning of like the quarantine and everything, I really didn't even touch my portfolio for a long time. And that's okay, honestly. I think, like, as long as you have your most recent projects documented somewhere, or, you know, are willing to attach that in your application to something, or, you know, if you have it in an accessible way, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about having a portfolio that's literally like, you know, immaculate. Like they're looking at all other aspects of you, and the actual thing that you did is what is important, I hope. But obviously I don't actually have a job yet, but so that's why I think, having something like this for a lot of people might be a really good option, because it takes away the part of it that feels really overwhelming for a lot of people. So
as a designer, do you have like your own brand identity that shows on like your book or even within your Behance or your resume that you try to keep up and keep consistent?
So I've been told. I don't know that I do, but I will like post something and people will be like, wow, this is like just fits your design style so perfectly. And I think this is my website. I haven't updated it in a long time. So yeah, I like little like light colors and, groovy little blobs and things. So yeah, I do have like, and purple. I do have like an overall theme, I suppose, but I wouldn't like focus on that too much. I think if you try and focus on making that like a big part of your portfolio or your, information about you, like that might take away from it more than add to it. Like, having a theme or like having, picking colors that you're going to use for your portfolio is good. But yeah, I think the like style that you have or the, specific look that you present is something that kind of comes naturally to you, and that will show through regardless. So
Ellen, I think you have such a cool vibe, and I think it like shows because you like don't try to put out like a specific one type of thing. I don't know, I stalk your design like Instagram all the time just because you like are always doing something fresh, and I feel like you can tell that like it's something that you love to do, not something that you're doing just for like a class or anything. It like very like naturally flows into your like, if I could like package up your design and put it on bow, it'd be like that purple vibe.
thank you. That's awesome. I haven't seen if anybody's like said anything in the chat. So.
We have just been purely hyping you up the entire time.
Wow, this is great. Good thing I didn't see this while I was talking. I would have been. If anybody has any questions about like about any of the programs, I would love to answer them. I spend way too much of my time on Illustrator, and I would love to answer any questions about that.
Ellen, do you use Procreate or do you like mostly do Illustrator on your iPad? One thing I have trouble with is like when I use Procreate, it feels like it comes out very like grainy because I know it's like not vector based or something.
Yeah. So that's like a big, I had an issue with that at the beginning as well. I was like, I didn't really see how I would translate them. I use like the image trace tool. Oh, I will show you guys about that. Image trace is so awesome, and people don't even realize that there's a lot you can do with it. So maybe, I don't know, someone give me something that I can download a picture of.
A flower.
Pizza. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, now I'm hungry. Do pizza.
Okay, you've got this pizza. You're gonna take it into Illustrator, and oh, this is like really pixelated, but I guess that's a good example. Okay, image trace, and then click on this little thing, and it opens up a whole panel of stuff, and you can even open up even more stuff. Then you can change how it's doing the image trace, and then that's where you can really like make some cool stuff based on, like, if you do like a line art or something and send it in, that will really like you can go in and make sure that it's really, you know, accurate to what you drew, or you can, you know, add color, and it'll pick the 16 most prominent colors and include that. And then you can see, you can just like adjust so much about it. One thing that's really, really helpful is if you have like a black and white logo and you don't want to include the white part of the background, like it's like a JPEG, so it has just a unnecessary white background, you just click ignore white and it just deletes the background, in the white part in the background. That's like one of my favorite things. Yeah, and then you can increase like the noise, which, so then it's getting more and more detailed to the original image. But yeah, one thing that's really awesome though is the Illustrator for iPad just came out. And so I've started using that along with the Illustrator program on the computer to do stuff that I'm going to send into Illustrator. So now I'm mainly using Procreate just for, you know, drawing or sketching ideas and things, or animating stuff. They have a really cool animation tool. But yeah, the Illustrator for iPad is like so amazing, and it makes it so that you can get really specific with the pen tool, and you don't really have to worry too much about like Bezier curves and things, which is a whole other monster. These things are just awesome. And if you want to get good at that, you should go to this website here, the Bezier game. And it helps you get better at the pen tool. It's really hard. So yeah, that's something that like I've gotten even better at because I've been using the iPad version. And so you can like, I don't know, seeing this, like it just, I like naturally want to like reach my finger out and move it that way, you know? So using the iPad version really helped me like connect the dots and like understand like the pen tool a little bit better. But yeah, I would definitely recommend downloading it. I think it's free if you have, you know, Creative Cloud and stuff. They also just updated the Creative Cloud app. So if you have an iPad and you want to be able to use the fonts that you have in Adobe Typekit, you can do that now, which is really sick. You can use them like in any program. Do you guys know what Adobe Typekit is? Yes. Learning. I don't know why I call it that. I think at one point it was called Adobe Typekit, but it's Adobe Fonts.
So I was like, why is it just Typekit now?
Yeah. They change it. They have a real issue with like their branding. They change the name of everything all the time. I don't know. Also, I don't know who decided that like, oh, I guess these two are different, but like 5 of the icons are like the same color now. Why would you do that? I don't understand.
Just to make our lives harder.
Yeah. This is Adobe Fonts. If you have Creative Cloud, you have access to every single one of these fonts, and it is really, really fun to look through because they've made all these different categories. So rather than kind of aimlessly searching through these like broader categories, you can go in and pick like funky, and then that's like strictly funky fonts. And yeah, it's so exciting. I look through this a lot. It's honestly one of my like favorite parts of like a design project is at the beginning. You kind of get to do some like online shopping, I guess, for, you know, mock-ups and for fonts and for colors and stuff. Like let yourself enjoy that part, because that's like where you get to make these very kind of simple decisions, and it's, you know, it's fun. Yeah, get into it.
This might be kind of like a heavy question, but how do you decide what font to use when you work on a project? Like using like, because I know there's like a lot that goes into like fonts, but you have like a process for narrowing down kind of the type of font to use.
Yeah, I mean, I one thing that I like body fonts. I don't really, you know, feel like there's very much of a difference in them, but just literally forcing yourself to shrink them down to like 11-point font and like looking at it from far away and like thinking about how nice it is to read it versus another one, or like that's really the only purpose of like selecting a body font. It's not much more than, there's a ton of different options, but in reality there's like a ton of like a few like tried and true ones that you can use and you know that people are going to be able to read it from far away. With like title fonts though, normally I kind of have something like in the back of my mind that I'm like, this would kind of look cool, or and then this has really like helped me so much is these tags, because now I can like, I would always have like an adjective or something in my mind to describe the font that I wanted, but like there's nowhere really to like search that or anything. But now with this with this website, you can select in these little categories. I think just testing out lots of different ones. You're gonna have a ton of different fonts on your computer, and you're just gonna have to undownload them afterwards because they really slow your computer down. But and just trying out different combinations of title and body font, and honestly getting to the point where your project, you know, you have other stuff on the page, and seeing how the fonts like interact with the other elements of whatever you're doing. Sometimes I start with a font that I want, and then by the end I've changed it because, you know, all the colors don't really go along with it, or what's the image that's on the page doesn't really go with it. So I keep it pretty flexible. I change the font like 25 times throughout the entire process. But yeah, it's daunting, but there's like, there's a lot. Don't let it overwhelm you. There's like these little categories really help narrow it down. I always use like little categorizations when I'm looking for fonts. I never just go in like completely blind looking for one, because that would be way too many options. So if you think you want one that's going to be really bold, you know, like clicking this to narrow it down that way, or something that's contrasted really heavily. This one is good too, the width, because normally you can kind of envision in your head like, okay, I want this to be one of those really like condensed, like, you know, I want it to have a really like tight feeling, or you want it to be big and bold and you want it to be super legible from really far away. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
We have a favorite question here that we like to ask all of our guests. If you could tell yourself if you could give yourself your younger self advice, what would it be?
Start learning keyboard shortcuts. The trackpad is so nice, and you'll be really inclined to just like swipe your fingers all around to like click on everything, but it starts to hurt after a while. And learning shortcuts, I still don't do them as much as I should, but I just like can't recommend that enough. Also, don't like, you know, be too nervous to like just download a random design file and look at it and like look into it and figure out how it works, because it always ends up being a lot easier than you think, because everybody takes shortcuts, even the really good designers. So you open up their file and you realize that something that you thought would have taken them a really long time is actually just two circles laid over each other with the middle cut out or something like that. And you're like, wow, this is just, I could have done this. But yeah.
Well, we've got a few more minutes if anyone has any last second burning questions for Ellen. I actually do. What's your favorite font today? Just off the top of your head.
Today, I've really just loved Franklin Gothic recently, which is really sad, but like it's
a classic.
A wonderful font. Yeah. Also, New Spirit. It's a good one. That's what I was using for that hello thing.
I was gonna ask that next. Perfect. I was wondering what font that was.
Ellen, are you binging anything right now? Are you like listening to any cool podcasts, reading any cool books?
Oh, I've been listening to more music recently, which is good. I've been really into my Discover Weekly on Spotify. That has been like my every week. I'm like looking forward to that.
Well, thank you so much for coming and showing us all that amazing stuff. I'm sure everyone else was as enthralled as I was, and you taught us all new things. I thought I knew things. Nope, you knew so many more.
Yeah, I'd love to do this again, do some more Illustrator stuff. I love designing, so if anybody has like any questions or anything, please reach out to me.
I just want to watch you work all day and just see all the
No, I'm gonna like watch this on our YouTube next week, like, or whenever it's up, and like just rewatch everything happen and like be like vigorously like switching my tabs. So I'm like trying to do it myself.
Yeah, I went pretty fast, but I was like, these are the most important things. I need to get this across.
That was amazing. Well, thank you. And can everyone add you on LinkedIn? And
yes, please.
We always like to double check before we just say do it. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming tonight. This was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
And with that being said, we will see you all next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark, do 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 do,